Shelley. Well, good morning, everybody. What I'm hoping to do is just spend a little time kind of giving you an overview of sleep, and I'll give you an outline for the presentation, which you can probably see from your handouts today. And then I'd really like to open it up and have some dialogue about what you understand about sleep, what you're bringing to this whole area of sleep. It's a very controversial area. You wouldn't think it would be, but it is. And when you start talking about infants and children and sleep, people can take some very strong positions one way or the other. And so it's very important for us all to be well informed and kind of know what some of the background information is before we start launching into debates. So is everyone all right with that? Okay, can I get some idea of the audience? So do we have practicing nurses in the room? Yes, okay, good. And about to be practicing nurses in the room? Yeah, okay. And parents in the room? Yes, okay, yes, okay. So we've got kind of a mixed audience. So I've tried to kind of pitch it at a level where everybody will be able to follow the discussion and feel comfortable with it. So I hope that's okay. So let me know if there's anything I say that you're not too sure about, or you can stop me and ask me to explain or give you more information. And then, as I say, we'll have a really good dialogue at the end, okay? Okay, so basically, the way I'm approaching this is to treat infant behavioral sleep problems as a public health issue. And as I get into it, you'll explain a bit more, you'll understand why I'm taking that position. So the outline for the presentation is why is sleep necessary, how is sleep organized, what are sleep stages, what's normal sleep for infants and toddlers, do they wake up at night, what's the behavioral sleep problem, what are what we call negative sleep associations, what are some sleep promoting strategies, and what are the effects of sleep problems. So it's going to be a kind of overview of all the different aspects. So why is sleep necessary? Well, as a society, we tend to regard sleep as being optional. And I know there's a song by Jack Johnson that says, "Who needs sleep anyway?" It's a line in the song. But actually, we do need sleep. Sleep is very important for our health and well-being. And children and infants are no different in that respect. So children react to inadequate sleep with irritability, hyperactivity, short attention span, and low tolerance for frustration. And children obviously react differently. So I do have families that phone me up and say they've got a kid with a sleep problem who's maybe waking up every 1 to 2 hours at night. And sometimes they'll say to me, but they seem pretty happy during the daytime. So it doesn't sort of follow with that, what I've just described. But when you drill down and start asking questions, then the parents will tell you that by 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they're melting down and they're really not coping very well. So although this child seems relatively happy at points during the day, you can start to see a pattern where they're dealing with being overtired. And the thing about children is it's counterintuitive, because when we get really tired, often we sleep better because we're tired and we just hit the mattress and we kind of die. But with children who are overtired, they actually struggle more against going to sleep, and they're more likely to wake up at night. So you don't want to cut their daytime sleep with the view that they're going to sleep better at night, because actually that's not what happens. And we're finding more and more evidence now that's linking short sleep trajectories, or what we call short sleep duration, with emotional, behavioral, and obesity problems in children. And I'm going to go into that in more detail. And also, it's very clear to me over the time that I've been working in this area that persistent child sleep problems do have an effect on parents' health as well. So let's work through it. So how is sleep organized? We have circadian and homeostatic processes, and circadian rhythm incorporates cues from the external environment. So when you get jet lagged, that's because your cues from the external environment are switching, and you've got to incorporate that into your circadian rhythm. So when I fly to Australia, which I do on a regular basis, I'm crossing the date line, so I lose a day, and then there's another 12 to 16-hour time difference. So my 4 o'clock in the morning is their 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I have to adjust my circadian rhythm to facilitate being able to function in Australia and not falling asleep when I'm trying to talk to people in the middle of the day. sleep pressure in the homeostatic process is usually relieved by daytime naps and nighttime sleep. I say that, but it's been quite clear to me that people who are children who catnap. Does everybody know what catnaps are? That kind of 10, 15, 20-minute nap don't really relieve their homeostatic, through the homeostatic process, their sleep pressure. And those kids actually end up getting more fatigued over the course of the day. So this catnapping really doesn't work well for children. And the ultradian rhythm refers to organization of sleep cycles into alternating periods of non-REM and REM sleep. And I'll just remind you that non-REM is non-rapid eye movement sleep and REM is rapid eye movement sleep. And we're going to dig down a little more into that. So the sleep stages, infant sleep cycles last about 60 minutes. Our sleep cycles last about 90 minutes. So as children age, they start to move into the adult sleep cycle length. For those of you who are nurses out there, when parents phone you to say their kids aren't sleeping at night, how often are they usually waking up? Do they talk to you about that? No? The parents that I talk to generally tell me in really bad cases they're waking up about hourly or every 2 hours, which when you think about the 60-minute sleep cycle, it makes sense that that would happen, right? So stage 1 is what we call, it's the first stage of non-REM sleep. And in that sleep cycle, children are drowsy and less responsive, but they are easily awakened. And 3% of sleep is occupied by stage 1 non-REM sleep. And usually it's at the beginning of sleep. So often you'll hear parents say, well, I rocked my child to sleep in my arms, and then as soon as I move them onto a sleep surface, they wake up and start screaming. And that's because they're in stage 1 sleep, and they're not really in deep sleep when the parents try and move them, so they're easily awakened at that stage of their sleep. Stage 2 sleep is the onset of true sleep, and that's with the decreased eye movements and the muscle tone, but there is still some movement in bed that happens in stage 2 REM sleep. And that's about 50% of the total sleep, and it's mostly in the middle of the night. So the thing about that is kids do wake up in that stage of non-REM sleep. They're less likely to get into that really deep sleep with this stage. And then we've got stages 3 and 4, and they dominate the first third of the night. And that's the really deep sleep, where you get the deep rhythmic breathing, no movement happening, and they look like they're, excuse the expression, kind of dead. Okay, but they're not. They're breathing and they're alive. But there's no movement happening there at all. And you'll often hear parents tell you when their kids have got sleep problems that when they put them to bed, if they finally get them settled, they sleep actually quite well for the first 2 or 3 hours, or maybe even 3 to 4 hours. And then just as the parents are going to bed, that's when they start waking up all the time. And that's because they're in the stage 3 and 4 sleep at that point. And they're less likely to come up into these light sleep states, which is when they generally wake up. And we're going to get into that in more detail. So I'm just trying to give you a kind of an overall picture of how sleep operates and why the sleep problems are associated with the timing that they are and what we're seeing.